Hello, everyone, and welcome to EPR's Power Talk on Smart Solutions for Energy Management. According to Global Market Insights report, the global energy management system market size exceeds $28 billion in 2019 and is anticipated to grow at over 9% CAGR from 2022 to 2026. Both development and developing countries are spending on building commercial spaces, which is expected to drive the technology deployment in energy management systems across offices, healthcare facilities, and educational institutes. India's energy scenario is changing every day. Owing to the increasing rate of industrialization and urbanization, energy management is now becoming more competitive with the presence of global brands and advanced solutions apart from homegrown players. Also, the use of IoT and digital technologies will boost the concept of energy management in future. So, delegates, it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to our today's distinguished speakers. Ms. Kumud Wadhwa, Senior General Manager, Project Management Unit at National Smart Grid Mission, Mr. Hem Prakash Thukral, Associate Vice President of EY India, and Mr. Vineet Jain, Head for Automation Practice for Smart Grid, Networking, IIoT, and Substation Automation for Vago India.
So my first question is for Ms. Kumud. So how well is the industry evolving with the concept of efficient energy management in distribution and for distribution?
When we say how well is industry geared, I believe they are all well prepared because we are having lot many interactive sessions. We are engaging with them, with the industries in the various seminars, workshops. And I think lot of solutions or lot of technology solutions are already available in India for efficient energy management systems. And when we talk about efficient energy management for transmission, distribution, and generation with the distributed energy resources, the generation is closer to the point of consumption. So with that, automatically some technical loss reduction will be there because whatever are the losses associated with the transmission and distribution, that will automatically get eliminated. So those are the things. Smart solutions are already there, smart devices are already there. The only thing is that policy level, maybe we need to now go for some smart price signals or something of that kind, which can support this use of these smart devices in the energy management function for efficiency. So that is one thing. Another thing is like as Mr. Hem Thukral also mentioned about interoperability. I think that is one area where industries still need to work further. So though some progress has been made in terms of interoperability for smart metering solution, but it is only a limited adaptability as of now. Because when we talk about interoperability for smart metering, it is achievable only when we are having the same communication chip in all the meters, which is not something desirable in the long run. So I think industries need to sit together and work out a solution wherein the solutions are truly interoperable and we can get plug and play kind of modules for any communication technology, or not for any communication technology, for any communication service provider to fit in with any smart meter, and then deliver the solution in an end-to-end manner. That's one area where industry needs to work. And another area is again cyber security. We need to follow the practices. Though the techniques like PKI and encryption and all are already deployed, but still we lack in terms of some practices or processes that are to be followed for having a cyber secure system. There was a recent mishap also in UP some time back, wherein many meters got tripped because the processes were not well established, and there was some inadvertent command which led to some undesired tripping also. So we need to really define the process. What are the protocols for taking action? The way these are there in the normal business process, which are not smart processes, similar adoption of smart processes also is required for really delivering smart solutions in the cyber secure manner as well, in addition to the cyber security standards that are to be followed and the technology initiatives that are there. So these are my thoughts on this.
Yeah, Ms. Kumud, your observation makes really a lot of sense. Even one of our delegate, Mr. Valmik, was asking that, which are the standard cybersecurity standards for cybersecurity in energy management? Do we have well-developed cybersecurity standards in energy management?
Yes, the cybersecurity standards are the standards which are globally followed, and we can get to know those standards by way of their number from the source, like NIST and all are already declaring, and even those standards are being referred in the CA guidelines for smart metering and other such specifications as and when those are prepared. So cybersecurity standards are there. The challenge is how do we really implement those cybersecurity standards, as well as how do we validate that these are being followed. So maybe some people do declare that these are being followed, but do we have sufficient validation systems for really checking whether those security standards are really followed in letter and spirit or not? So those are also to be seen. So validation systems, testing systems, they are also to be geared up to really ensure that cybersecurity standards are there in the solutions.
Absolutely, Ms. Kumud. You have rightly addressed and you actually pointed out it very precisely. You explained it very precisely. Mr. Haim, what are your views about it? You mentioned about cybersecurity. What would you like to add to it?
Sure. Thanks, Megha. I think very nicely put by Kumudji. And I would like to echo what she said, that yes, there are some standards, some guidelines available globally. NIST or any other multiple options are there. But the issue, when it comes to energy management, that we'll actually be going to the consumer premise. We'll be interacting with devices that affect the consumer's life on a daily basis. So we need to tweak those standards and guidelines that are more generic, they are more adept to the power sector, and we need to define specific standards and applications and guidelines for the energy management, focusing on the consumer applications. So I think that's the way that we as a country needs to move forward. Probably it's a good action item for BIS as well to take into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Haim. Mr. Vineet, how is automation and digitalization contributing to enable the security system and enhance the energy management into the power sector?
Field equipments are being connected directly into these automation system, and you can achieve all the data. So you have got a lot of data which can be utilized in analysis and takes preventive actions for that. So it has also been monitoring at central location now. Like in SCADA, remotely it has been access to these field equipments. So if there is some kind of failure, fault, it can be just isolated from other systems, so that other system can work without any hurdles, and it can be that particular faulted system can be easily isolated and can be maintained. Even furthermore, in case of smart grid, if there is an equipment or a cable failure, it can be routed from different area, so supplies to the consumer doesn't affect. So management becomes quite easy in that case with the automation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Vineet, for addressing this question. Management and digitalization and automation are definitely going to be the future for almost all the sectors, and this is not going to be an exception. Completely got that. Ms. Kumud, we have a question from Venkatesh. He's asking that, Madam, does NSGM provide any sort of guidance or support to Indian startups involved in energy management system and related products?
Yeah, it's really very appropriate question because as part of the roadmap for our Smart Grid Knowledge Center, which is being supported by Ministry of Power, that has been established at Power Grids, this PAL center at Manesar. There is a proposition wherein we will be supporting startups as well, because incubation center will be an important part of that Smart Grid Knowledge Center, and there will be also collaborations with international institutions for handholding, and we are figuring out how do we really provide that kind of support. We are just in the process of setting up that. Maybe it will take some time, but yes, we do hope that we will be able to help the startups for delivering energy management solutions.
That is very optimistic, opinion from you, that startup must be happy to hear that. Mr. Hem, when we were talking about the cyber security, we were not an exception. One of the attendees also mentioned about this, that we have seen in recent past, even in foreign countries, we were not an exception even, that some of the elements are hacking into the energy system, that led to the power failure or data leakage. Even it impacted our life, life of many cities as well. And this is inevitable when you talk about cybersecurity. So what is your view about this? That what kind of system we need to develop so that this kind of threat become minimal?
Sure, Prasadji. I think it's a very valid question, especially in today's age. I recall there's a very famous saying that the safest machine or the safest computer is one which is off. So, we actually, it's a necessary evil if you say so. We need communication, but yes, we need, as Kumudji was also saying, we need process and technology, of course, but we need people skills as well. Majority of the attacks, that have happened specifically on the power sector, they have been mostly focused on social engineering. So how we solve that piece of the puzzle, how aware our people are, how well we are treating the disgruntled employees. I think that's one very, very important piece of the puzzle. And of course, we need the processes, we need the technology elements to complementary, to act in a complementary fashion. But if any piece of this chain goes out, whether it's people or whether it's process or whether technology, I think the entire chain, and with energy management, we are actually going to the consumer's home, as I said, so the threats are real and the risk is much, much more than a conventional smart meter system would have.
Yes. In addition to that, in your presentation, Mr. Hem, I heard that you were mentioning about the reuse of smart infrastructure. So can you detail a bit more about that? What you were meaning by reusing smart infrastructure?
Sure, Prasadji. In fact, as I said, about 2 million smart meters have been installed till date, and many of them and many hundreds of millions are to be done as per the new schemes and as per the policy push. But as a country, perhaps we can save on certain additional infrastructure costs because we already have reached the consumer premise. Through smart meters, I can remotely send signals, I can get data. Using that data, I can perform various sorts of AI and ML calculations and other techniques. But the key is to reuse that comms infra at least, where I can reach the consumer. So that is one. And when you talk about energy management, one very, very basic feature of energy management is existing in the smart meter itself. So we can use the load curtailment functionality, wherein we can curtail the load of the consumer premise by simply sending a command to the meter. So one very, very basic aspect of energy management has been covered there. And there's a third angle as well, that when we were making the smart meter standards back in 2013, 14, and finally published in 15. So we had kept an optional technology piece called the home area network module. So there's a option, and back in 2013, 14, there was no business case. And even today, as I said, we need to see whether there is a business case to go forward, and we need to see what are the specifics of the cost and the benefits. So, but today there is an option, thanks to the technical committees in BIS and CA and MOP. So we have that option that we can have an additional module that can talk to the devices present in the home. And we can go for a step further as well. The module that has been installed in the meter for communicating with the DISCOM, perhaps that can also be used, within the building. So there are multiple options, we need to see in which direction we need to go. But definitely, reusing of this infra is one good way to go ahead.
Yeah, it is a very innovative thought. I mean, when you shared that, it sounds like this is what is the need of the hour. Probably, coming days, more people will brainstorm more about it. and we may have better, suggestions and solutions for other players to take it up. Yes, Ms. Megha, you were asking something.
Yes, I had a question for Mr. Haim. Mr. Haim, you actually mentioned about the systems for home. So my question to you is that this can be applicable to the cities, but when it comes to distribution systems or monitoring things and technologies for terrain challenges like the Indian geographical conditions, when we look at the Indian geographical conditions, we do have a lot of places where it is difficult to maintain or to monitor, or even distribution is a challenge. So how do we make it efficient for that particular area to deal with the terrain related?
Thanks, Megha. I think it's a very, very valid question. That topological challenges and geographical challenges will also have a bearing. But I think that's actually an opportunity, that where we physically cannot go, where the DISCOM cannot go and set up systems, we need to have appropriate communication infrastructure where remotely we can manage those buildings. And I'll even go a step further, that those buildings, as I said, they can actually operate like a microgrid. So ideally, you don't need to connect with the grid, and there has to be a de-linkage with the utility as well. So the buildings or the homes, they would have their own generation, their own local distribution, and storage facilities along with the DERs, to say so. So I think that presents actually an opportunity more than a challenge to remotely perform activities, and also to operate independently from the grid.
Thank you. Independency of grid is actually, that's an operational channel has to be addressed. Mr. Vineetji, my question is to you, that how automation and digitalization and what kind of technology do you cater to meet such challenges?
Just said by Mr. Haim, like for remote connections, where it is not possible to lay the cables or communication cables. So it is good to put things on cloud or IoT and GRSM. These are the things what utilities are preferring these days. They are putting compact substations near to these buildings and collecting all these data. And it becomes quite easy for communication part for them and collecting the data from these buildings and energy meters, everything they are doing that. That's all.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Vinny. I want to ask you one more thing. That one delegate is asking about what kind of advisors panel have for startups in smart energy management. So Vineetji, I think you are one right kind of a person to give that kind of advice, because you are very close to market and you know the trends and what is coming up in the industry. So can you give few tips for the startups?
Yeah, startups can have these. If I say India is too good in case of IT. Now, many things are required for data analysis, conversions, like artificial intelligence, algorithm writing. All these can be very good form of startup. Now, if I say cloud or IoT service, utilities are not at all comfortable designing these dashboards where they can put the analysis online. So this is what they can, these startups can do. Collecting cost-effective equipments can be manufactured by these startups to collect the data from the field. Yes, these utilities are going on operating on single protocol of telecontrol protocols. So these are the things which are quite good, and we have got very less these manufacturers. Most of these equipments are imported. Why not in India? So we have got quite a good future for these equipment manufacturing, as well as with IT functionalities. What we have already very good.
Yes, thank you so much, Vinitji. And I also would like to hear from Ms. Kumud and Mr. Hem. Before that, we have two more questions in the Q&A box. Due to the time constraints, we may not be able to address everything. So if you can look at it in the Q&A box and address it there, it will be great. And Ms. Kumud, would you like to add something to what Vinitji just said?
Yes, in addition to what Vinitji just mentioned about the dashboards using IoT, data analytics from IoT and the other devices, smart devices, what I would like to suggest is we need to figure out how we can design and develop maybe some low-cost communication chips. Mostly we are dependent on importing these items from outside India. So whether there is a startup or some initiative can be taken for really having those kind of communication chips. Those communication chips can be based on 5G or maybe radio frequency or maybe PLC, because PLC is also a very, very valid option for Indian systems. So right now, one of our pilot was struggling because the power line communication chip, which is being imported from Israel, was not available at the right price. So the pilot is stuck up in between. So maybe the startups can look into those areas as well. How do we design a communication chip which is very cost effective as well as gives the desired performance with due considerations of latency requirements for various solutions. So those are the requirements in my opinion. And further, to add to what was the earlier question, how do we support these startups as part of National Smart Mission? I forgot to mention that we have an expression of interest available from PowerGrid, wherein we are inviting startups as well as other technology players to submit their proposal for showcasing their solutions to the various stakeholders in a virtual manner, and that is valid. The expression of interest is to active or live till 23rd of September. So if there are some startups who would like to showcase their solutions to stakeholders, that also include Ministry of Power, distribution companies and regulators, through a virtual platform, so they should see that expression of interest and then submit their proposal. They will be getting a valid hearing from a various large market audience.
That's very encouraging, Ms. Kumud. Thank you. Mr. Hem, is there anything else you want to add to this, tips to startups?
I think Vinitji and Kumudji have covered it very well. But just want to say, that the AI and ML portion of the value chain, I think that's where startups can come up. And if they can generate, algorithms and solutions that can do the prediction with the least amount of error, I think that's where the gold is, if I say so. And that'll lead to a big impact on the sector.
It's fantastic. And also, Kumudji mentioned just right now about the scarcity or lack of, technology support which we are getting from outside. Even Israel is one of the largest consumer of semiconductors, and now we hear about the shortage of semiconductors available for the industry. How do you see that it is going to impact the smart energy management plans of our?
Right. So I think that it's a very pertinent challenge. We've also, when we talk to industry players, we also face similar issues. So having chipsets being developed in India, that's a very, very novel idea. That we can get the silicon from somewhere and then possibly we can convert them into products and solutions. But we can perhaps, looking at the bigger smart city piece, although that's not the scope of this topic, but if you look at the entire smart city piece, especially for India, where billions of sensors will be deployed, it'll be worthwhile having or considering having a fab lab in India, a semiconductor fabrication lab. For the past 8 to 10 years, we've been hearing big companies and industries trying to do this and trying to enter into this domain. But having a fab lab in India is also good from a security perspective, that the chips are, the silicon is prepared or manufactured in India, so there are no bugs or backdoors that can be inserted there. It's a long shot today. It's not an easy thing. People have tried, people have failed. But looking at an institution or a governmental level, I think that's definitely one thing that can be taken up.
Yeah, from the future, yes, but in short time, definitely this is going to create an impact, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Okay, I really acknowledge each one of you to be here on this panel discussion, and it was our privilege to host each one of you here. Before we wind up this session, I would like to have a closing remark from Mr. Hem. So, Mr. Hem, can you give a closing remark for this session?
Sure, Prasadji. I would like to thank Kumudji and Vinitji and the entire EPR team, Prasadji, Megha, and Gulleen for having us here. And I think it was a very, very interesting discussion that we focused on various aspects. We touched upon, by Kumudji, that we touched upon how the sector is reforming from a smart meter to smart grid to smart solution perspective. And also, that we need to convert these technologies into products or solutions, if we say so. And I think Vinitji also highlighted how we can package solutions to get a better benefit, and how the consumers will identify what they need, what they don't need. And I think I remember that monitoring will not suffice. And I totally echo that point that, we need to extract value of the data. And if you look at smart meters today, most of the DISCOM they're doing remote collection of the data, or they're just sending commands. But the true value will be, realized once we extract value of the data, and that's where AI, ML, and, other novel technologies will come in. So thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on smart solutions in energy management. We hope you have enjoyed today's Power Talk. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Kumud Wadhwa, Mr. Hem Thukral, and Mr. Vineet Jain for joining us for today's session. I would also like to thank Associate Editor of EPR Magazine, Ms. Megha Iyer, and our editor, Mr. Prasad Nair, for taking this initiative. So with this, we would like to announce the closing of today's session. I request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Thank you and goodbye.